have the pleasure to share with you kind of the heart of the work that my colleagues and I have been doing for now the last 20 years, and this mysterious kind of space between our actual intentions and what we are actually able to bring about. Doctors tell their seriously at-risk heart patients that they are likely to literally die if they don't change their ways of living around diet, exercise, smoking, and the like. It still turns out that only 1 in 7 patients can actually make the changes. And I think this is just worth, pausing on for a moment, because I think we can be pretty sure that the other 6 people have just as great a desire, to keep on living and watch their kids or their grandchildren grow up or whatever, floats their boat. And if we cannot make the changes that we would want to make to literally keep ourselves alive, then, what does this say about all the other changes which we may even urgently feel, but which are not life and death matters? What it says to me is that we are in deep need of some new ways of thinking about what gets in the way between our genuine intentions and what we're actually able to bring about. And that if you interview a person when they come out of the doctor's office who's been prescribed one of these maintenance medications, and you ask them why the doctor prescribed this, you get a pretty high rate of understanding. And then you ask them, if I come back in a year to see if you're taking it, because it's prescribed that you should take it, for the rest of your life. So if I come back in a year to see if you're taking it, what do you think is the probability that you'll be taking it? And they look at you like you're nuts. They say, well, the doctor said to me I could have a stroke and die if I don't take it, that it has no negative side effects, and that it's covered by my insurance. So, I'd say about 100% is the likelihood. Why wouldn't I just take it, brush my teeth or whatever I do at night? I'll pop one of these pills. Why wouldn't I? But then when you do come back a year later, 53 to 57% of the people in a number of studies now are not taking the drug. This is the most common reason for the people in our study why you're not being adherent, if you want to be. I don't know. That was the most common reason. The second most common was things like, well, something comes up, or I get busy, or something like that. We've come to learn that these non-reason reasons are evidence usually that the person is captive of this thing that we're calling the immunity to change. So let me show you, an X-ray from one of the guys in this study, and, what was his map? So his improvement goal was pretty much the same as every person in the study, to take the medications every day as prescribed and refill them on a timely basis. Then he had to tell himself, all the things that he's doing and not doing instead. And he said, I don't take them regularly. I stop for long periods or stop entirely. I don't refill them promptly when they run out. And when I get those automatic phone messages from the pharmacy, I just hang up on them, right in the middle of the message. Now, so the first thing that we ask them to do is to think about how they would feel if they even tried to do the opposite of each of the behaviors in the second column. So let me give you an example of how this went. So I'm talking to this gentleman on the phone, and I said to him, okay, so you've been very honest. You want to be compliant, but you don't take the drug every day, and when they run out, you don't refill them promptly, and so on. So tell me this. What would be your biggest worry if you did take the drug every day? And he said to me, if I don't take that drug every day, my biggest worry is I could have a stroke and die. Now, what would you think, even formally, about that answer, as an answer to my question? What? That's right. He did not answer the question I asked him, right? I asked him, what would be your biggest worry if you did take the drug every day? And he told me very quickly, and this happens all the time to us. He answered a completely different and opposite question. He said, if I don't take that drug every day, I worry I could have a stroke and die. This, for those of you who are interested in the brain, this is a perfect example of the way we have a tendency to walk down the familiar neural paths that we have long created. He knew what his worries were if he didn't take the drug, but I was asking him a completely different question. What his worry would be if he did take the drug. This was a path that had not yet actually been built in his brain. And I said to him, of course, I understand your biggest concern if you don't take the drug is you could have a stroke and die. Now, I'm actually asking you a little different question. Just stick with me and see if something comes up for you. Imagine yourself there. You're actually taking the drug every single day as prescribed. And then what I wanted to say was, what would your worst feeling be about that? But I never actually got that far. Because if you heard a tape recording of our interview, it would sound like this. So imagine yourself, you actually are taking this drug every single day as... If I have to take that damn drug every single day, he said, I'm going to feel like an old, sick man. I'm going to feel more like my father's generation who's in a nursing home, who I'm not visiting, by the way. Oof. I said, whoa, it sounds like you have a lot of strong feelings about that. You're damn right I do. He said, I'm 58 years old. I'm in the prime of my life. I'm not some guy who's got one foot in the grave. I'm not a half-dead guy who has to take a pill every day. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. He had no clue this is going to come out when we began our little conversation. He knew what he was worried about if he didn't take the drug. It had never occurred to him that there was a very, very smart reason why he was not taking the drug. Once he saw this system, he said, as we were ending the call, well, this is kind of interesting. He said, you're showing me that in order that I not feel like an old sick man, I'm doing things that are likely to lead me to be a dead man. He got it. So once you have the x-ray, then what can you do with it, right? And the way that we get to that is by having people come to identify what are the big assumptions they hold, usually plural, big assumptions, that make, these commitments seem absolutely necessary. So just a shorthand version for this 58-year-old fellow is, I assume if I have to take a drug every day for the rest of my life, it means, that I'm an old person in decline. And they begin to see some kind of way by which they might do something other than dieting, just trying to change the behavior, some way that they might actively begin to alter the mindset itself that is producing the behavior. Self-deception is a very powerful force in human affairs. We think we're doing one thing, and we are. But there's also this other whole thing that we're doing. And that other whole thing, and being able to look at both things at the same time, is kind of this thing that has fascinated us. And